Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. SFA Chief Executive Stuart Regan says it was a unanimous decision not to renew Gordon Strachan's contract. Malky Mackay takes interim charge of Scotland as the search for the new manager begins in earnest next week. Could Neil McCann be the man to end Celtic's winning domestic run? Yep, just a few of the talking points as domestic football returns this weekend. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, and we're delighted that Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail is the man joining us on Friday night's programme as ever. So lots to talk about. In the end, he's gone. Are you happy with that decision, Hugh?
I think it's the right decision. I actually think, as you know, that it's a long overdue decision. I thought he very possibly could have gone after the last failed qualifying campaign, and I certainly think the Lithuania result was a time where the decision should have been made there. He nearly, credit to him and the players, he nearly got himself out of a hole, but it was too much. Again, the Lithuania result was just one that you just couldn't find any way back from. But you're never happy that somebody's lost their job, but I think it was the right decision.
The board say it was a unanimous decision, Ruffy.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, obviously, if Gordon had been brought in some part of the meeting, you know, and get a view of, you know, did he want him to stay personally? That might have made it easier for him if he had said, well, no, I've had 2 campaigns, haven't qualified, I'm just going to get on with it somewhere else. That would have made it an easier decision. But if they've just made the decision, you know, it'd be interesting to see what the kind of dialogue was and what was the, I mean, Hugh's touched on a couple of games that he didn't do particularly well. It'd be interesting to see what their views were of going for another manager.
That's what I think is the strange one, because I interviewed Stuart Regan just after, you know, they basically reappointed, they didn't reappoint, but like Gordon had made his case to them to stay on. Since he made his case to them to stay on, you would have thought it was an awful lot better than what went before. So it is a strange flip-flop that they were so strongly behind a manager that drew with Lithuania and get beat 3-0 by England and 3-0 by Slovakia, and then they're not so strongly behind a manager that's beat Slovakia, drawn with England and beat Lithuania. That seems strange. But as I say, after the Lithuania won each, I thought that result was so deleterious to the whole Scotland qualifying campaign that he would. I would have let him go then, and that'd have given us time for the next campaign.
Yeah, okay. Here's how the back pages looked this morning as you were getting up. Of course, you better know what you're doing is, of course, Scott Brown, who clearly, as captain of the country and captain of Celtic, he was a huge fan, very close to Gordon Strachan. And there's another little sideline there from Tommy Wright just saying Pedro's paranoid. This is, of course, the ongoing wind-up between both camps. Pedro Caixinha saying he felt as if St Johnstone were aware of his team last season. The Sun, Strack axed in 11 a.m. call, and of course this explains how the whole process came about. Moyes wants talks on job. This is David Moyes. Will he have to be convinced to take the Scotland job? Is he the right man for the job? He's certainly one of the early favourites. Here's the Mail. And it's gone in 30 minutes. The SFA board quick to make the decision to axe Gordon Strachan. So the SFA now have the big decision to try and find the right man. What about the expectation? Well, today at Hampden, the SFA Chief Executive Stuart Regan explained what they're looking for.
We want to have somebody who is capable of getting Scotland to the next European Championships in 2020. I think by saying all you're looking for is someone with international experience, you're actually closing down your options significantly. We are going to consider a wide range of candidates, a wide range of experiences from home and abroad, and when we've got that shortlist, we'll make a recommendation to the main board.
Okay, I've been struggling to try and find somebody out of left field. Because of all the people I talked to, we're looking at the early favourites, David Moyes, Malky Mackay, Derek McInnes has been quoted as well, Hugh MacDonald. Is there someone that's not been named in the list that the bookies have fired out?
Oh yeah, there'll be thousands. I mean, this is a big job. People want it. Where the SFA's got a real problem here is that there'll be a lot of guys out there really qualified to do this job who might make a great success of it, but because they're not big names, the SFA will have to sort of think, can we sell this to the Tartan Army? Can we sell this to the supporters? Whereas if they go down a big name route, the biggest names won't come because there's no money. So that leaves you with either taking a chance on somebody relatively untried or somebody who's been successful in another country, again, hard sell, or go down the Davy Moyes, Paul Lambert route. They're really in a bit of a pickle here. I think, well, I know there'll be coaches out there that'll be brilliant at doing this job because you know that, because other teams like Michael O'Neill. Michael O'Neill's been brilliant as a Northern Ireland manager, but if you'd have said Michael O'Neill at the beginning to Northern Ireland fans, go, well, what, you know, managed at Brechin the Hibs, you know, so, you know, but he's turned out well. But the SFA can't afford to really take a chance, I don't think.
Yeah, who would you like to see?
Well, I would like to see a list of candidates and have a know who's available. At the moment, I think Moyes is the favourite.
Is that who you'd like to see? If you of the list of candidates, is that your choice?
At the moment, the list of candidates is in front of me, yes, but I'd be more open to seeing what foreign coaches, who precisely from abroad would want the job. I'd be interested to see them. But yes, in terms of declared runners and riders, shall we say, Moyes is the strongest one for me.
Short term, Stuart Regan has picked someone to take interim charge.
I think the key point to make is we don't have a competitive match until September 2018. We have the opportunity to play friendly matches, and we will start that friendly campaign with a match on Thursday, the 9th of November, at Pittodrie Stadium in Aberdeen, when we'll take on Holland. And the board have asked Malky Mackay if he would lead that match and lead the squad into that game.
Okay, so he takes a friendly on in November for Scotland, Malky Mackay. He's been quoted as a guy who could possibly take the step up, Ruffy?
No, I'm in the Davy Moyes camp, but you can bet that Malky Mackay will see this as an opportunity to impress the board. He'll see, maybe introduce some players that we don't know about, and he might introduce, you know, a style of play that might be different, you know, but he will want the job. I would like to think he would be, and I think giving him a couple of games, you know how boards can be impressed by results, and you know, who's to say it won't be. But I fall into Hugh's camp. I think if they're looking out with the people that we know, it's somebody they might have to identify that has been to a competition or taken a country to a final, and that's what they should be looking at.
Derek McInnes, the Aberdeen boss, has been quoted in some of the bookmakers' list. This is what he makes of the job.
You know, I think obviously we've been very close this time around to pulling it off from a difficult situation, but I think in general, I think we're producing a lot of good players. I think there's a lot more investment and focus getting into the youth development programme. So I think in time we may well get more players at a better level of player for any national manager to choose from.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt Gordon Strachan leaves Scotland in a better state than he inherited it. But who is going to take this job? It was actually put to the Hibs boss, Neil Lennon, but his answer, I think, sums up what a lot of young managers feel about it.
Not at the minute, you know, I'm youngish, you know.
Do you think it's an older man's?
I do, yeah. I do, you know. I get surprised when I see younger managers taking it on. You know, Mark Hughes went straight into it, and Slaven Bilic did it with Croatia. I just think the gap between the games is huge, you know, and I find it hard enough filling my time in between games here rather than months at a time, you know, so I don't know what state I'd be in, Bray.
Is it an older man's job?
I think it should be. I think it should. I've said this on numerous occasions. You know, when I used to play in the national team, when the door opened and the Scotland manager came in, it was somebody you were in awe of. You know, somebody had done everything, not everything in the game, a large part of it, because you're going to have a lot of big players there. You know, and the big players respect who the manager is, it helps along the way. We've seen so many times there's been Scotland managers been thrown in there, and the experienced players have just not listened to him at all. You know, basically because it's where they've came from, and they don't think he's got enough experience for it. So I think whoever gets it has to be like Gordon Strachan, had a bit of respect in the game as a player and possibly a manager.
Is it fair to say we're in a better position? Would you accept that?
From Gordon's start?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I think
You think we're in a worse position?
No, roughly the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we finished fourth in one group, finished third in the next. That was both seeding points. I think it's interesting what Derek McInnes said, though, that largely that's with the hands of the manager, where we are. Yeah. Largely, I honestly think Gordon should have done much better in the first qualifying campaign than he did in this one. I think that was a golden chance that we really blew. But I just think sometimes outside the hands of what he has, and the good thing is there's some good young players coming through, as Derek McInnes said.
Okay, interesting point there from Hugh. Do you agree? At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. After the break, it's domestic football. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV2. Alan Ruff and Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail with me here in the studio ahead of the weekend, where we will be on STV2 from 2 o'clock in the afternoon for a full 4 hours. We'll bring you reports from the key games across the Premiership and Championship, keeping you up to date with what happens in League One and League Two. We'll reflect on that Liverpool-Manchester United early kick-off tomorrow in the Premier League and bring you the best of the top flight down south as well. Join us 2 o'clock STV2. Of course, not too far away from St Johnstone Rangers kicking off. We'll have Pedro Caixinha and Tommy Wright on tomorrow afternoon's programme, I beg your pardon. So plenty to talk about tomorrow on that. But of course, just one little story regarding Rangers at the Court of Session. Dave King at the moment just explaining, his legal counsel explaining that he doesn't have the 11 to 12 million required to buy up the remaining shares in the club. That must be, that'll be an alarming headline for a number of Rangers fans, Hugh MacDonald.
Yep. The explanation for King will be saying that it's not readily available, it's tied up trusts, etc. And of course he's got money difficulties coming out of South Africa. But yeah, the Rangers story for fans is always, it just seems to be more troubling. This is a big case because it involves what could be called the cold shoulder, which the takeover panel can invoke. Which makes it very, very, very difficult for anybody to run a business because the cold shoulder intimates that they can't be dealt with by institutions. So another big case, another day of uncertainty for Rangers.
And just on that point as well, I mean, we're going to talk about Hamilton on the playing field, but another little bit of news that they've been the target of an elaborate fraud resulting in the loss of a substantial sum of monies, which Police Service Scotland and the bank are investigating. I mean, that is the last thing Martin Canning wants to hear if it has any impact on not only the short term but the long term for Hamilton Accies.
Yeah, and it's the last thing that the club will want to be involved in as well. I mean, if you're talking about loss of coats, substantial sums of money, nobody wants that. Very difficult to talk further about it, obviously, because it's an active case, but worrying all the same. Yeah,
so Celtic against Dundee. Dundee, the latest club to try and break Celtic's unbeaten run. And right now, Brendan Rodgers is probably going to rest 3 of the players with Bayern Munich in mind. I'm talking, of course, about Armstrong, Brown, who won't be 100% fit. He's certainly not going to take any chances on Szymanowicz either.
No, and if you're one of the teams who think they can break this record that's going on, some will be thinking this is an ideal opportunity. You're not going to get many opportunities, but obviously with these 3 players out, obviously Rogic is still away as well, and you will go there with a wee bit of confidence. But as we've seen before, it doesn't matter who isn't there. There are people who will come into the game the game and play particularly well and win games. You know, I think Celtic got so many players in abundance. I don't think Dundee are strong enough defensively to come away with something tomorrow, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's a hectic period for Celtic as well, because they've got back-to-back Bayern Munich, they've got Hibs in the semi-finals of the Betfred League Cup, and of course they've got Premiership fixtures to fulfil as well.
Yeah, hectic period, but I think most people accept, and then it happened last season, that Celtic have got a reserve team that can compete very well in the Premiership. So, okay, Brown, Armstrong away. What does that mean midfield? Probably Rogic away as well. It means McGregor will start. It means Incham will come in and start. Maybe Beaton gets. These are all top class players. He's still got. Now he's got real kind of opportunities to play players wide as well. He's got Forrest, he's got Hayes. That's what Hayes was bought for. Yep, I think and Roberts, of course. I think the big thing about Celtic actually is the size of their pool and the fact that pool has been assembled to negotiate periods like that. So I don't think Brendan Rodgers will be too perturbed at the moment.
Yep, and of course he's facing up to another new young manager in Neil McCann, and Brendan Rodgers has a lot of respect for the man in the opposite dugout tomorrow.
What I've been impressed by Neil in terms of since he's come in, and I'm saying that Paul was the same, but I'm looking at obviously and judging Neil on his merit since coming in and looking at the games. He's clearly trying to get them to play, to show a courage on the ball. Wants his teams to build from behind, so they open the game up fairly well in order to want to get on the ball. So he seems pretty clear for me in terms of how they want to play.
58 matches now for Celtic, undefeated. Dundee have got a tough job trying to better what Hibs achieved at Celtic Park. Can they do it? Well, Neil McCann says they're not going there just to make up the numbers.
Our team will be going to Celtic Park to try to get a result. We're not going to just throw away momentum either. We want to continue to build on it. And as I said to you, it's the toughest games you'll get this season because you're playing against the best team in the country. But you have to come up with a game plan that you believe that you can go to these places, you can play against Celtic and try and get a result. Otherwise, there's no point in the bus turning up at Celtic Park. So we've worked hard this week. We'll go there with a game plan. We're not looking to try and contain or come away with a soft scoreline. We're going there to try and win the game, and we'll have to be our very best to do that, and that goes without saying.
Should be a huge crowd at Celtic Park for Celtic against Dundee, and equally so at Easter Road for Hibs against Aberdeen. This one could have the claim of game of the day.
I think so, very much so. I was at the Celtic Hibs game and I was really impressed with Hibs, really impressed with them. The way they're set up, the way they get confidence after half time. Neil Lennon must have said to him, listen, come here, we're here to get a result, I'm not here just to lie down. McGinn was excellent, and I thought this is a right good team. And Aberdeen, I think, have really recruited well in the summer. I think they're still to gel a bit. I think there's players that he's recruited that will get better as the season goes on. Yep, I think absolutely game of the day.
Yep, and just picking up on your point, Hugh, Neil Lennon says that his Hibs side have to match the heights they achieved against Celtic when they face Aberdeen.
It didn't surprise me, the performance. They've no excuses now. That's the level that they can play at, and the quality of performance and the way they handled the game and the environment and the circumstances was everything I wanted, and what I knew what I could get from the team. Now they've got to try and maintain that level of consistency. If they do, we've got to have a great season.
Yeah, I mean, just as far as the opposition are concerned, they're taking a good travelling support with them at the best of times, Robbie. But with Adam Rooney's quotes that, they're still neck and neck with Celtic, to their eternal credit, he reckons that the best is yet to come from the Dons. You've got to back it up with wins against a team of this calibre.
Yeah, I think this is the same for both sides. If you're starting to shout off where you're going to end up in this league, this is the kind of game that's going to determine, if you've got a chance. If Aberdeen win it, yeah, they'll say second place. If Hibs win it, they'll say, well, we're good enough to beat Aberdeen. We're good enough to be third. And you can be sure that Neil Lennon will have said that to his players. You know, this is a big game. Don't let me down. You know, don't go into the game, you know, and lose everything, the praise from the Celtic game, because this is a really important game. And if Hibs win this one, they'll be shouting for the rooftops.
Yeah, here's what Don's boss, Derek McInnes, makes of the opposition.
I think Hibs, as I say, for loads of reasons, are a welcome addition back to the top flight. I think they've got that bit of momentum sometimes you get from a newly promoted club as well. But when you've got the fan base there, you know, they've got a semi-final to look forward to. Neil's done a good job of putting together a squad that I think will give them a chance to meet their demands, and I think they're a club that's going the right way.
Okay, here's what the Mutual Appreciation Society contributed to this. This is Neil Lennon on Aberdeen.
Really impressed with them. Again, you know, Derek, we lost Niall McGinn, Johnny Hayes, Ryan Jack, but you know, he's recruited really well. He's brought in good players again, and the start of the season, the league season, really strongly. That's where we want to get to. I think we have a bit of work to do that. So we've started that process, if you want to call it that, trying to break into that, you know, top 3, top 4 bracket.
Who's winning that one, Ruffy?
I think Hibs will win it by the odd goal. I know Aberdeen are on a decent run, but there's a lot of these games have just sort of sneaked 3 points here and there. I think the Hibs players have got to take something out of that Celtic game.
Yeah, if they win, if they win against Aberdeen, Hugh, I think there'll be a fair amount of hysteria around Easter Road, because they'll start to really think, hey, this is the real deal. I think this is the one where you actually really get to see, you know, Hibs metal.
And Neil Lennon will know that. I mean, the huge disappointment was coming off a really good result at Ibrox and then losing at home 3-0 to Hamilton Accies. They'll be looking for a big result tomorrow. Neil Lennon's a winner and he knows how much this means. I think they'll just nick it. Just
going to nick it, okay. Partick against Kilmarnock, Ruffy.
It's a must win for Partick Thistle. I would dread to think, you know, the conclusions that people will draw if Kilmarnock were to win this one. Obviously, we've already had 2 managers sacked, and both of these teams have turned it around. They've started winning games. So I would hope that I'm not saying I'm not even talking about it because Thistle will win. But and I think Archie deserves, you know, to keep in this job.
Yeah. If it's a must-win game, is that because you feel as if the manager's job's on the line?
No, I think the board are strong enough. This is a real board at Partick Thistle. They don't tell you we really like you and then they sack you 2 days later. So no, I think Archie's done enough in the 2 or 3 years that he's been there, you know, to get more leeway, because he's proved that he can do it before.
Okay, as you know, we got there in the end with Ruffy. He thinks Thistle are going to win this one. Yeah, just one match I think we haven't discussed yet. Ross County against Hearts. An interesting permutation, this one, Ruffy, because Owen Coyle has got his feet under the table. He'll started to work a little more with the players. Dingwall never an easy place to go, and Hearts desperate to get some kind of real momentum going under Craig Levein.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not personally convinced that Hearts are on the up. I know that they've come in and picked up a couple of points here and there. I know they're playing most of their games away from home, which is a hindrance. But as you've touched on it, Ross County is a hard place to go. New manager, you know, the players will be looking forward to this one. But if Hearts were to go up there and pick up 3 points, you know, with the amount of games they've got at home coming up, you know, I'm sure that will be the positive thing for them, to pick up anything away from home.
I do think they'll be on an upward curve eventually once he gets his teeth into it. Maybe, am I misplaced in my confidence in Craig Levein?
No, I think it applies to both managers. I think both managers have got, you know, good pedigrees. Both managers can be talked down because of recent happenings to them. But I think if you look at the stellar moments in their career, both are really, you know, good, solid managers. So I think it's a real tough match tomorrow. That's hardly going to win the prize for originality, but I think it will be quite a physical match. I think it will be quite an attritional match as well. And I could see it with one of these games that was honours shared, a draw.
No, I think Ross County will win this one. I think just not running away with it. I think it'll be pretty tight, and but I think they'll win it by the odd goal.
Okay, there you are. There's your man. Summed it up. Thistle to win, Hibs to win, Hearts to lose. Okay, here's the Premiership fixtures for the weekend. Join us if you can on STV2 at 2 o'clock, and you'll be able to hear from Pedro Caixinha, and you'll also hear from Tommy Wright as well. So there you have it. St Johnstone against Rangers. We'll have all the reaction from that match on tomorrow's programme. Celtic Dundee, Hamilton against Motherwell, Hibs Aberdeen, Partick Thistle Kilmarnock, Ross County against Hearts. Did I get a prediction off you guys for Hamilton against Motherwell, Ruffy?
Oh, Motherwell are flying just now, aren't they? You know, you can't see by them, but I still think any team that goes to Hamilton needs to win it. You know, they need to combat. You know, the Hamilton boys are really up for it. They're fed up of hearing people like us saying they're going to get relegated. So I think this will be, although Motherwell are doing well, I think Hamilton maybe get a draw at this one.
Interesting, they haven't had a win in 4.
I fancy Motherwell, fancy them pretty strongly. I think they really are the form team at the moment. I think they've got good guys in good positions, and I really rate their manager. I think he's a real talent. I can see them winning tomorrow.
Okay, so finally a disagreement there, Ruffy, between the two of you. What about looking to the Championship? Of course, a couple of really tasty games on offer. We'll have reporters at key games in the Premiership and in the Championship as well. Here's the fixtures for tomorrow in the Championship for you to look over. Brecon City against Morton, Dumbarton against St Mirren. It's Falkirk Inverness, Livingston against Dundee United, and Queen of the South against Dunfermline. And Falkirk Inverness, our man Des McKeown will be heading over there to the Falkirk Stadium. It's going to be Paul Hartley's first game in charge, and he's got to win it surely with Alex Smith's 100% record in the last 2 games.
Yeah, it's a fascinating game, this, because it would automatically, all the focus would be on Falkirk with the new manager Paul Hartley. But I think the real pressure at the moment in this division is on Inverness, Caledonian Thistle, and I think if Falkirk win tomorrow and create a little bit of a gap between them and Inverness, Caledonian Thistle, or increase the gap, people will be asking questions at Caledonian Thistle. All the teams that were supposed to be round about the bottom of that league fighting for the playoff place are doing very well. Livingston, for example, are doing excellently. You can't see them being down there. Dumbarton are grinding out the results as they would. Gary Naismith's Queen of the South, you think are going to be good enough to move away. The rest of the teams, bar from Brecon City, you would be looking at, would really be wanting playoff places. So I think that actually, although quite rightly everybody will be talking about Paul Hartley and Falkirk tomorrow, it's a huge game for Caledonian Thistle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 1 win in 5, Roffy, for Robbo. The pressure's on, although that win was a confidence booster against Peterhead in the League Cup, the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, I think it all depends on what Robbo's brief is. You know, for getting that job, if the directors are saying, right, we're giving you the job, but we want promotion, or we want to be in the top 4, or are they giving him a year just to get things sorted out, obviously with the budget that he's got. But at the end of the day, he needs to start winning games. They don't want to see a team like Inverness down the bottom of the league. So he does have to start winning games. Big game for me tomorrow is Dunfermline, obviously in the end of a bad one before we had the break. So they'll want to get back on the rails again.
Yep, okay. Here's what John Robertson makes of his opposite number, Paul Hartley, in his first game in charge of Falkirk.
Paul will come in, he's vastly experienced, he'll have worked with his team all this week. You know, it gives us the dilemma, will he change it? Will he change the system to anything he prefers? Will he keep it going? Ain't broke, don't fix. So in that respect, but you know, it'll be, you know, the players will be up to show their new manager what they're about, but they too will be buoyed by the fact that they've won their last 2 matches without conceding a goal.
Yeah, if you're talking about Dunfermline, the other game that I think is an absolute rip snorter in that division is Livingston against Dundee United. I mean, David Hopkins has already picked up the Manager of the Month award, and deservedly so, and they can leapfrog United with a win.
Yeah, and United are just coming into a bit of form as well. You know, to be fair, you know, everybody at United said once we've got our forwards fit, ready, up to pace, then judges then. And I think they are. I think they now are sort of almost flexing their muscles. But again, Livingston have done so well. Obviously a talented manager, David Hopkin. Obviously an ambition to push it to as far as they can. Great game. I wouldn't be surprised to see Livingston win that tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, United unbeaten in 6. Here's Ray McKinnon's thoughts on the game.
Look, we want to win every game. That's our aim, whether it's in the cup or in the league. We want to win every game. We want the players to have that mindset. That'll be the same on Saturday. You know, we want to go down there and win the game, and just continue to keep performance levels moving forward. I think in the last 3 or 4 weeks the performance levels have been much better, moving in the right direction. So I'm looking for the same on Saturday.
Well, he's been on this programme, especially after games, Ruffy, just talking about the fact that he feels as if he's got key players slowly but surely coming back from injury, and he's got 2 forwards that can cause a bit of mayhem in MacDonald and Keatings. Yeah,
the forwards are the one for me. If you can get two forwards who are scoring maybe 15, 20 a year, you've always got a chance of doing something. I think the only thing that Dundee United have got to handle is the pressure of everybody saying they're going to win the league. And I think within the camp, as I said about John Robertson's brief of where they would like him to end up, I think Ray McKinnon's only got one brief, and it's to get promoted. And I think as the season goes on, that will be a must. So it depends whether the players can handle that pressure.
Into League One, here's how the fixtures look for tomorrow. Ayr United against Airdrieonians, East Fife Albion Rovers, Queen's Park against Forfar, Wraith Rovers against Arbroath, and Stranraer against Alloa. This one, I mean, again, this is a great division because you could pick any one of, 3 or 4 who are all going to contest this title, although Wraith Rovers have still got their noses in front.
Well, Wraith Rovers are the strongest, and it should be, got a good set up there, but they've got a bloody nose at Cliftonville, lost the Ayr, so that's put them back a wee bit. Ayr United as well retained their full-time status, brought through a lot of academy players. I fancied them a bit at the start of the season to push Wraith Rovers and perhaps win it. Another good division, another strong set of games tomorrow as well.
Yep.
Yep, I think Ayr United have done nothing wrong this season. I think Ian McCall has brought in wisely, a lot of experience with youth, and they're getting results, and I think they'll be really too strong for most of the teams in this league.
Okay, as you're aware, guys, because of the Scottish Cup League 2 out of commission, we'll be following some of the early Scottish Cup results as well. You can join us on STV2 for that. We're going to switch our attention to Glasgow City. Just gutted, really. Here's the goals from the game for the girls in the Champions League. Lost it on, away goals scored, and this one, the first one, Ruffy, I think this is unbelievable, a disappointment, this one. This is the away goal for Kazakurt of Kazakhstan. I mean,
you've got to win the header. The header's the one that causes all the problems. And then after that, the girls obviously took her goal well, but they were obviously great to come fight back and to get a goal. I mean, it's a bit, I don't think I've ever done that.
No.
I can't remember if I've done that. I'm glad I haven't done that, but I've done other ones, but that is a bad one. But that gives you the wee hope. And then obviously getting another one quickly after that, and it looks as if it's coming into the box. And again, I think the goalkeeper's I don't know what the goalkeeper's doing there, but unfortunately, when you get the goals and your hope and everybody's... Is there a goalkeeper in there?
I'll tell you one thing. There was a moment in this game, Ruffy, where I thought the girls are going to do it. I actually thought Glasgow City at one point, Hugh. I mean, their goalkeeper was really poor. And
well, we may as well name her. Her name's Alina Ruskeski.
But if you go for it's just,
I mean, this is the penalty,
and then you get a chance at a penalty, and
it's a soft penalty.
And you could see everyone. You could see all the girls, thinking, right, this is it. We're into the next round. And sweetly hit. Can't complain about the strike of the ball. Unfortunately, it'd be better just hitting it straight at that goalie. Then you might have had a chance.
Yeah,
but,
well, I was about to say.
It's disappointing. You can see the girls are absolutely distraught at any competition you're in. You want to progress, and they were unfortunate.
Yep, gutted for Leanne Crichton, one of our own reporters, and all the girls as well of Glasgow City. Join us after the break. There's absolutely no catching out. Hugh MacDonald just confidently holding up 4 fingers there. He knew the score with Ronaldo. Do you think if he wins it this year again that he's... I mean, the general consensus is that Messi's the greatest player at the moment. Do you think if he wins this one, some people are going to have a rethink about it, even off the back of Messi's hat-trick for Argentina?
I don't think so, because I'm a great Ronaldo fan. If somebody put the old gun to heads, who would you rather have, Ronaldo rather than Messi? I would just go for Ronaldo. But I think people are so entrenched in their positions that nothing will change that now. And you know what? You're not going to argue something. You know, I think Ronaldo, but somebody's going to shout and bawl you about Messi's the best. It's not, you know, it's not an argument. It's just how can you decide between? We're just lucky to have 2 greats at the same time.
Absolutely. Are you friends with either of them?
No, I have spoken to Mr. Ronaldo in a corridor at Manchester United when Sir Alex Ferguson had a sort of intense chat with him about not squaring the ball in the last minute of a game, but that's the nearest I've ever got to either of them.
Yeah, so you wouldn't view him as a contact or a friend?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No. I'd love to.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if it was clouding your opinion.
No, I don't. Imagine having Ronaldo on the phone. Oh, no.
I'm sure you'll get him one day, Hugh, in the one-to-one interviews that you conduct. Hugh MacDonald and Alan Ruff are here with me. We're looking to the Premier League in England as ever. Our man down south in the know is Ian McGarry, who joined us a little earlier on to talk about really the only show in town tomorrow, Liverpool, Man United.
It is, Peter, and probably most interesting for the fact that Manchester United, for the great start they've made, have yet to play one of the top 6 teams, whereas each of the other teams in that particular canon have actually done so. Therefore, it will be a test for Manchester United, especially because it's at Anfield, and we know that Liverpool are stronger at home. And I think for Jose Mourinho as well, he has a special relationship with Liverpool fans, as we know from his time at the first time with Chelsea. So he will expect a very warm welcome there, I'm sure. But apart from that, I think we will get a more accurate picture of where Manchester United stand in terms of the Premier League Championship.
There's talk of Jose Mourinho being offered a new long-term contract. I want to get your thoughts on that. And, of course, the big question is, have Liverpool actually improved in the 2 years since Jurgen Klopp took over?
Well, I think we discussed a couple of weeks ago, Peter, on the programme that Brendan Rodgers' record as Liverpool manager now looks actually very positive compared to Jurgen Klopp's. Same amount of games in charge, his win percentage is better than Klopp's. Liverpool have, I think, not remedied the obvious shortcomings in their squad with regards to defending, central midfield as well in the transfer window. Manchester United, on the other hand, have bought well, have bought players who have hit the ground running and who obviously have got them to the place where they are in joint top spots. So, it's one of those where I think Klopp is more under pressure than Mourinho. I think Mourinho will go there, and if he comes out with a draw, he'll be quite happy because it's a difficult place traditionally for Manchester United to go and get a result. Whereas Klopp, I think, needs to get a result in order just to convince everyone, including Liverpool fans, that he is the man to take the club forward.
Away from the English League, we have a small local difficulty up here at the moment, Ian. We don't have a Scotland manager. Any ideas of who could replace Gordon Strachan?
Well, Hugh, I'd say Peter Martin was my first choice. I think he knows the game well. He knows the players. He's got a sense of humour, which is essential for a Scotland manager. Apart from that, I see Malcolm McCann's been placed in interim charge, which I'm not even sure what that means, because do we have any games? In November, they're friendlies, whatever, because obviously we're out qualification. But I would say Michael O'Neill and Paul Lambert are the 2 strongest candidates for the job. I think Strachan did okay, but not well enough. I think we need a younger voice in that dressing room. We've got younger players coming through, and I think a generation of managers has now moved on, and Strachan was one of those, of that generation, of the Alex McLeish, Sir Alex Ferguson, etc., etc. So I think Michael O'Neill, who obviously still has his base in Scotland, and also Paul Lambert, who I'm not sure he will want the job, because I think Paul still sees his future in club football for the moment. But I think those two names for me are heading up.
And just before you go, Ian, give us your prediction then. Liverpool against Manchester United at Anfield.
I'd say this, Peter. Both clubs have got players coming back from international duty from long journeys. That's a 12:30 kickoff. So it's not the best scenario to see the best possible game. On that basis, I think Liverpool will suffer more. Coutinho, Firmino have come from Brazil, having played 2 games. They'll not be in top form. Of course, they could both score hat-tricks and I'll look a fool. However, I'd say Manchester United will try and close the game out and will probably win narrowly by 1 goal.
Yeah, I don't know why Ian's worrying about looking a fool for predictions. We do it every week on this programme, to be perfectly honest with you. And there's no way I could take the Scotland job, Hugh. The last thing I need is a kicking from you and then my hair going white as well.
And then no passing the buck either, Peter. You'll have to live and die by your own sword as Scotland manager. You just can't blame me and Ruffy every week.
Yeah, absolutely. All you need to do, Ruffy, if you were offered the job, is just go out and just spend most of your time looking for 2 centre-halves. Is that fair?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if the boy for Leeds gets a shout. And everybody sort of, he seems to be the forefront of centre-half just now. But Craig Levine was talking up the boy Suter. He was unfortunate with the injuries he's had. We're only talking about a year before this next campaign. I'm sure there will be another 3 or 4 games after this next friendly. So this is a time for any young players to state their case. Yeah,
at Liverpool, Manchester United, always a tasty game. I can recall some absolute crackers down through the years. Strangely enough, though, it's just another game at times to Manchester United. When Fergie was there, he wanted to win it. He hated losing it. But in the bigger picture, it was just a stepping stone to a title for Liverpool. It's always been just also rans in the last, 20 years?
Yeah, but that's the extraordinary thing about the Ferguson era. I mean, Ferguson arrived there with the great phrase of knocking Liverpool off their perch. He did that so much that Liverpool actually didn't become a rival, at least in title terms. That's the way it's changed. I think Mourinho will go there and play very, very canny tomorrow and win. Yeah,
the strange thing about it, I just wonder when the breaking point or the deciding point comes on whether Klopp is actually the real deal or not, Ruffy, because now I can see the balance just shifting where people are starting to say, well, wait a minute, we've already started to compare your record with Brendan Rodgers. Now we're waiting to see, what are you going to do? Are you going to win anything? Is there a step to be taken here?
Yeah, I think the pressure's on. Obviously, it's got to be top 4. It's got to be in the Champions League. And then if things aren't going particularly well up until the January window, he's going to have to deal with the Coutinho scenario. Obviously, the owners will say, if we aren't going to get in the top 4, we need some money in here. And then it remains to be seen if they recoup the 120 or whatever it is. Do they give him the money to buy maybe 4 players? Will it make any difference for the push for the top 4? So no, he's got a big ahead of him.
Yeah, it's a strange one, this Coutinho situation. It dogs him. Sometimes when managers are trying to engineer their way out of trouble or get success, when you've got a star player who is trying to get himself out the door, inevitably sometimes it can cost you the job.
Especially when it's Barcelona or Real Madrid.
Yeah, this is history repeating itself. Suarez, same thing. And already Barcelona rather cheekily or mischievously have indicated that they will be in the next window for him. Yeah. So with a big bid. Is that not something you can report them to UEFA? Yeah. Are we working on different rules?
We're working on. Yeah. In the real life, nobody would be bothered. Everybody say, "Oh, that was a misquote. That was out of context, etc., etc." I think it's a big window for him coming up, because he came out of that window without the centre half he wanted. Indeed, the centre half he needed. So he's got to come out of the next window if they're still in the business end of the Champions League, which I think they might be. And still round about the top 4, which I think they might be with Van Dijk. And I think if they got Van Dijk and maybe had to lose Coutinho, I think that might not be a bad window.
OK, I'm going to finish, Ruffy, with one story that caught my eye, and it'll probably catch a few people's eyes in the back pages tomorrow, maybe the inside pages. Former Celtic boss Ronnie Dyler revealed that he actually stripped naked to inspire his side to a crucial win. Vålerenga trying to avoid you know, the bottom half of the table, and they were playing against Bran, and obviously he felt this was this was the thing to do to inspire the team, just to leap about just in his pants.
Yeah, it was not the first time. I think he did it when they won the league.
He did it his underpants.
Before he came to Celtic, and I think the whole of Celtic was waiting in that time, you know, when it was going to happen. But unfortunately, he never had the success of the time. But I've been in dressing rooms with guys, and some of them aren't a pretty sight. So, as a photos to back this up.
Yeah, I hope not, to be perfectly honest with you, Ruffy, but we certainly won't be showing them on this programme, to be honest with you. But strange things to inspire teams. Maybe he should have actually gone and stripped off a few more times at Celtic, and you never know, it might have changed his fortunes. OK, lots of talking points tomorrow on the programme. We'll react to the goals as they hit the back of the net. We'll bring you all the information on the goals. We'll have reporters at key games as well. Hugh, MacDonald and myself are going to just go through this list of Scotland candidates, see if we can come up with a name that's going to inspire maybe the next generation of players to get us to a major championships. Join us tomorrow on STV2 at 2 o'clock if you can. From Ruffy, Hugh and myself, thanks for watching. Good night.